The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Magla, create your own digital magazine, and Valero, FIA approved race and rally base layers. Welcome to the Formido final races, a free day out for the whole family at the circuit of Assen. The last couple of years it's also been the venue for the 8th and final round of the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. In the GT divisions, the championships were decided in the previous round at Spa, but everything remains in the balance in our sport classes. So let's take a look at the title contenders. In Supersport, the championship is being led by father and son Ronald and Luc van Loon with their BMW M3. They've got a 7-point advantage, with 44 points up for grabs here at Assen, as at every race weekend it's not a huge advantage. This is the first year that the father and son duo have teamed up to battle for the Supersport title in the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. So will they be champions in their first season? It would be a dream come true for young Luc.
Ja, het eerste seizoen met je vader samen en dan om het kampioenschap.
It's our first season together, so to lead the championship coming here for the final round in Assen, that's just amazing. We haven't made any mistakes this year. The damage we've had hasn't been our fault, so it's all looking promising. The championship leaders were Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein until they ran out of luck in the previous round at Spa. The Seat Leon drivers now lie 7 points behind Ronald and Luc van Loon and 13 ahead of their own teammates, Dennis Heuveling and Art-Jan Ringelberg. To have a shot at the championship, they really need to go all out right from the start of qualifying, because for each pole, you get a point. That first spot on the grid, though, won't be going to Ronald and Luc van Loon. They strike trouble during qualifying. I hit a tyre stack on the apex of a corner. Stupid mistake. Not too much after that. The throttle cable broke, so not the best result this season. We're going to start from 6th, so hopefully we'll do better in the race.
Nee, we zitten nog steeds heel nuchter in. We zijn begonnen van we zien wel.
We're still keeping cool heads. We started this season with little or no ambition. We'll try and keep the same mindset this weekend. We'll fight hard for every point that we can take. We're starting from the midfield in the Supersport class, so we definitely have our work cut out for us. We'll try and make our way forward. I think the decisive moment will be in race 2 and not today. Luke said he wants to end up in the top 3 today, so that'll be our main goal for race 1. Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein have failed to score a single pole position all season long. When Dennis drops into the 2-minute 46 on a couple of laps, the Ferry Monster Autosport team look very tense. Their competitors also dip below the 2-minute 47 mark. The main rivals come close, but Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein hold on to the fastest 2 qualifying times, scoring 2 vital points for the championship and putting their Spa bad luck behind them.
Ik ben net vergeten. Moeten door en stomme
It happened, but I haven't looked back. That's the only way we can win the championship. It was a stupid error, but we can't turn back time. So this weekend, we just have to give it our best. Dennis took care of qualifying. Looks like we got pole position for both races. And really, that's an amazing result. We're always aiming to be the best. Always. Dennis starts race 1 from pole position with 5 result seconds more than the Van Loons. During the pit stops, he'll need to keep as many rivals between them as he can, hopefully including the orange BS Racing BMW Peter Scheuers, who's a fellow front row starter. 2 wins so far this season, not the easiest man to beat then. Rolling start for the 60-minute first race of the weekend. Looking back from Dennis de Borst, there is Benjamin Vandenberg. Priscilla Spellman's Lotus already trying to go the long way round the outside into turn 1. She gets shuffled down, and through into 3rd comes Ronald van Loon in the white and blue BMW. First job done then for Dennis de Borst. He's got the lead into turn 1. Well, let's take a look from Ronald van Loon. Ginetta alongside Javier Morchillo. The yellow and grey Seat, that's Art-Jan Ringelberg. Watch the black Lotus of Priscilla Spellman. Trying to split the front row starters. She's looking to go the long way round the outside. Gets in front of the orange BMW, but Benjamin Vandenberg has the inside line, and we follow her through into 3rd with Ronald van Loon as Vandenberg gets sideways on the curbs. But Van Loon eventually takes too much out of the tyres and starts to drop down the order. Passed here by Benjamin Vandenberg and Javier Morchillo as Peter Scheuers dive bombs both of them to move past 2 spots in one go. Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein never lose their lead, winning the 60-minute race and setting the fastest lap time, while the Van Loans end up in 4th position. A good podium for Ferry Monster Autosport. Their Seats are 1-2 ahead of BMW drivers Peter Schoyers and Marcel van der Maat. Art-Jan Ringelbert, Dennis Heuveling closing in on the Van Loans, and Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein retaking the championship lead by a single point. The Sport Class title will also be decided here in Assen. The points leaders with 4 race wins this season already, BMW 135i drivers Niels Kool and Bart Drost. We're 6 points ahead in the championship. It's not much, but it's enough that we don't have to push that hard. We only have to stay close to our rivals. But we can't risk losing points, so we'll have to push hard enough to create a buffer. My main goal is to bring the car in for Niels without any problems. Niels is very good in closing down the gap to the guys in front of us. He's much quicker than I am. So my task is to keep up and not to take any unnecessary risks. First, they will have to beat their only title rivals in the Sport Championship class. With 3 wins this season, Peugeot RCZ drivers Bart Vandenbroek and Chris Voet have shown themselves to be very quick. But their worst result this season came last time out at Assen.
Ja, blijkbaar is het toch ons circuit zo niet. Dus zowel van mij.
Apparently this circuit isn't very kind to us. Same for me and Chris. We don't know what it is. We've been here around 8 times. We've done enough laps around here, but I guess the other tracks suit us better than this one. We'll have to see what happens. Bart Drost didn't have the best of fortunes last time out at Assen, but this time he's really showing what he can do. Having started from pole, he's in a great battle with Henk Tappel in the BMW 1 Series, leading, and Bart Vandenbroek in 2nd place in the Peugeot. Bart Drost grabs 2nd place in the Ruskenhoek chicane, but this great battle ends in tears when the Peugeot is pushed back into the pit box in the second part of the race. Chris Voet and Bart Vandenbroek's championship chances are crushed. I took over from Bart to do the second stint and everything was fine at first, but then I started noticing the engine vibrating. That's not normal, so I reduced my pace to try and finish, but the engine power dropped to 0 and the temperature kept climbing way above normal, so there's nothing I could do except come in and finish the race here, and that's the end of our championship chances. With the Peugeot out of the way, it's good news for Bart Drost and Niels Kool. They win not just race 1, but also the Sport Class Championship title. This is what we've been fighting for all season, of course. Well, we hoped it would happen today, but that didn't seem a very likely outcome. And when the Peugeot ended up having technical problems and was out of the race, Bart did a great job in his stint, brought the car in 1st place. We dropped back a few places because of the result seconds, but in my stint I managed to make my way forward and we finished 1st. And that's all we needed to win the championship today. Feels great. To be honest, it hasn't really sunk in yet, but I'm sure that'll come after tomorrow's race. 5th win of the season for Bart Drost and Niels Kool. 2nd place went to Stan van Oort, who won last time out at Assen. And in 3rd, Henk Tappel and Harold Visselink. It's a midday start for race 2, but it's rained most of the morning with a soaking wet track and the sun slowly but surely emerging from behind the clouds. Set up for this 90-minute season finale will be a gamble. Not much work going on with the Seat of championship leaders Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein, but Ronald and Luke Van Loon's team are working on the setup, firming the suspension onto dry settings. Dennis de Borst starting from pole position in race 2, which means they start with a 2-point advantage, gaining 1 point for pole. Peter Schoyers also on the front row as in race 1. Then Benjamin Vandenberg and Jan van der Kooi in the Lotus, also as in race 1. Dennis Heuveling and Ronald van Loon on row 3, ahead of Javier Morchio and Ted van Vliet. So plenty of work for Ronald van Loon to do from 6th position. And Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein definitely in the driving seat, but 90 minutes on a drying track, anything could happen. The fans' clothing tells you everything you need to know about the temperature on this damp, cold autumnal morning. 2 warm-up laps, but after one of them, Benjamin Vandenberg having to come in with a broken throttle cable, just like Luke van Loon during qualifying. So it's Dennis de Borst in the blue Seat that leads the field. Orange BMW Peter Schoyers ahead of Jan van der Kooi all on his own in the black Lotus on row 2. Ready at the end of the second formation lap. Lights go off quickly and so does van der Kooi. Electrifying start from the lightweight Lotus. surging up the inside to grab the lead way before the braking area. Wheel to wheel for second position. Peter Shaw is on the outside of Dennis de Boerst. The front wheel drive car drifts out a little wide. His teammate Dennis Heuveling right behind, looking to try and go inside the BMW. Couldn't get through there because of the tyre stack on the apex of the corner. And drifting out wide, Dennis de Boerst, the BMW skating around as well. Right behind the yellow Seat, Ronald van Loon in 5th position on board with him. Dry settings but wet weather tyres on the ex-World Touring Car BMW. He slips up the inside to grab 4th place from the Seat. Lots of wheel spin there though. Here is our race leader, Jan van der Kooi in the Black Lotus from Dennis de Boerst, Peter Schoers. And then Ronald van Loon ahead of the yellow Seat of Dennis Heuveling. Heuveling right behind him. Hear how cautious he's being with the throttle, 4th gear. Oh, and that's why Ronald van Loon loops it round into a spin. He goes off backwards a long way onto the wet grass, and a lot of cars going by as he restarts. He will rejoin right at the very back of the field, a long way behind. They had a 25-second pit stop result seconds advantage. Luc van Loon not looking happy. He knows that has all gone by the board. Up to 4th now, the yellow and grey Seat of Dennis Heuveling, and the good news for them, as he tries to take 3rd away from Peter Schoers, is that with Ronald van Loon dropping to the tail of the field, that now puts them in a prime position perhaps to take 2nd place or maybe even victory in the championship should their teammates in the blue Seat run into problems and fail to finish. Well, at the moment, it is Dennis de Boerst who is challenging for the lead of the race with Jan van der Kooi, and here is the 3rd place battle. So the Seat pair could well end up 1-2 in the championship in either order, and 90 minutes of wet weather racing will decide it. Looking to go the long way around the outside of Peter Schoers here. The BMW will drift out wide, cuts back underneath him. Good pass by Dennis Heuveling, using the front wheel drive Seat's advantage, moves himself up into 3rd position. Ronald van Loon also moving himself up a spot into 6th place now as he passes Ted van Vliet, but still a long way to go if he's to claim the title. The red Ford Focus silhouette of Wim Lemmers up 3 spots from the grid on lap 1 to take the lead of the sport class race from Bart Drost. Carleen Bergsma in the Lotus underneath Drost in the white and blue BMW in the hairpin. She goes through for 2nd place. Henk Teppel on the left of your picture goes through as well. Chris Voet also passing Bart Drost, who is taking it easy in the early going. And Carleen Bergsma losing places here. Henk Teppel goes by, so too does Chris Voet. The little Lotus losing speed to them on the straight. Henk Teppel already on the back of the Ford Focus silhouette and looking to try and take the lead as early as lap 1. Treacherous conditions, minimal visibility, uses the power of his 3-litre engine to get into position and slips by on the inside for the lead of the sport class. Jan van der Kooi's Lotus leading the Supersport class 17 laps in. Dennis de Boerst has been caught by Dennis Heuveling, his Ferry Monster Autosport Seat Leon teammate on board with Heuveling. And coming down into the 2nd corner, de Boerst pulls way out wide, leaves the door wide open for Dennis Heuveling to go through. He's not going to fight it. He doesn't need to, but giving away those points might not be easy. Go on, he says. Go on. Let's catch up the leader. As conditions improve, Javier Morcher in the Ginetta challenging Peter Schoers for 4th spot. Neither car really with quite the grip that they're hoping for yet in these wet conditions. Henk Teppel leading the sport class race in the 1 Series, and Wim Lemmers under pressure now from Chris Voet in the Peugeot RCZ. Peugeot with a 1.6-litre engine. The power to weight ratio balance of power in the championship means that the less power you produce, the less weight you have to carry. That means he's quicker in the corners than the heavier Focus, but the Focus's extra engine power helps it back down the straight. It's a good way of balancing performance of some very different cars. The Peugeot, road car based, the Ford Focus, a pure silhouette racer. And a little rub in the braking area as the Focus retakes 2nd spot. As conditions continue to improve, using that power to good advantage, closing down leader Henk Teppel. And within 10 laps, the BMW is back under pressure for the lead of the sport class race. The silhouette Ford Focus right behind, now starting to try and exploit that power advantage. Here comes the Peugeot though, clean run through the Gert Timmer chicane. and trying to decide which of the two horses to follow in this race. Outside with the Focus or inside with the BMW. Seems there's grip on the outside line. Focus retakes the lead of the sport class. Chris Foot right in the middle of this top three battle. Chasing Henk Tappel as Wim Lemmers drifts out wide in the Ford Focus, finding grip the long way round the outside. All but none for Chris Foot in the middle of the corner. He spins it away. Through go Stefan Polderman and Wilbert Vandenberg. Pit stop window open. Ronald van Loon, 6th place in the Supersport class when he comes in. 90 seconds or so behind Dennis de Borst. And they're going to have to try and change their tactics, do something to negate this huge disadvantage for the father and son duo.
Ja, nou ja, dan zit je een beetje te balen. Maar
Well, of course, I'm not happy with what happened. First thing I needed to do was safely get by all the slower cars that were in front of me. I lost a lot of time, but after I'd started overtaking the sport class, I was able to close the gap on the Supersport pack. But then that didn't really go as well as planned. Halfway through the sport class, I ran into one of their cars and spun again, so I had to do it all over again. Near the end, though, finally started to find the grip that I needed. And now we've sent Luke out to do his stint. We've sent him out on slicks. And that's a gamble because the track's still pretty wet in a few places, but hopefully he can make up for some lost ground towards the end of the race. Well, it's a gamble that's going to exact a high price early on as Luke van Loon struggles to keep the BMW on track and loses time hand over fist. But even on wet weather tyres, it's still treacherous out there as Marcel van der Maat proves, spinning the orange BMW out to Ruskenhoek and getting stuck in the gravel. At least some good news for Luke van Loon, who gains a spot. Following the pit stops, Art-Jan Ringelberg leads in the set. He's taken over from Dennis Heuveling. Ferry Monster Autosport watching anxiously as if they can claim victory and fastest lap. They will move up to second in the championship. Victory they do get. Priscilla Spelman and Jan van der Kooi are second. Martin de Klein finishes third with Luc van Loon in 5th place, meaning Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein are the new Supersport champions. But a fastest lap on the last lap from Luc van Loon means they held on to second place in the title race.
Van Loon die was gespind in de eerste ronde.
Van Loon spun on the opening lap. I even lapped him in my stint. Then they went out on slicks and that was a mistake, I think. I understand why they did it. They had to try something and the track was drying quickly, but after lapping him I knew we were safe. I cruised towards the finish. That's all we needed to do. The car was great. Everything was great. Team had done a fantastic job and we've won the title. Art-Jan Ringelberg and Dennis Heuveling claimed their third victory of the season. They missed the first weekend of the championship and that might have cost them the title. They ended up just 5 points behind their teammates, the champions. Ferry Monster celebrate though. They claimed the title in 2013 with a Seat and do so again in 2016 with another one. And the Supersport class will be back next year with even more TCR cars invited to join in the fun. Battle royal for the lead of the sport race. Henk Tappel all over the back of Wim Lemmers in the red Ford Focus silhouette. Tappel's BMW on the inside in a very even battle. Third and fourth, Wilbert Vandenberg in his Alfa Romeo and Stan van Oord in the Renault Clio. And Stefan Polderman, another Renault just ahead of Chris Foot. All of those last three got by Foot's Peugeot RCZ when he spun early on. Now challenging to retake the position towards the end of the lap. He gets a run down the inside of the Renault Clio into the Gert Timmer chicane, but there's not quite enough grip. Contact and another spin for the Peugeot driver. Lets Bart Drost, the new champion, through in the 1 Series BMW. From the outside you see him get into trouble in the Peugeot, try and get out of it and spin harmlessly out of the way. Wim Lemmers brings the red Focus in as the sport class leader, as Kim Troyen did in race 1. She'll now take over for the second stint. Right behind them, Henk Tappel in the 1 Series BMW, but with 50 more result seconds, they shouldn't be a major threat. It looks like being a good end to the season for the team who've had so many technical problems with the Focus. Awesome race, says Wim. I was checking my mirrors all the time, reacting to every move in such tricky conditions with the car drifting all the time. It's been a real pleasure. Unfortunately, the pleasure doesn't last long. Their hopes of victory disappear with this spin for Kim Troyen. A trip into the gravel costs her 7 laps. There are better fortunes for Alpha 147 driver Wilbert Vandenberg. His black car takes second place from the Clio driver Stefan Polderman and then closes on race leader Stan Van Oord, who is stuck behind the champions Niels Coulibaly BMW. Into the Gert Timmer chicane, the Alpha dives by Wilbert Vandenberg, taking the lead and winning race 2, having not even started race 1 because of a broken engine. Talk about redemption. Stan Van Oord and Stefan Polderman finishing second and third in their Renault Clios.
Gisteren hadden we echt alle pech van de wereld. Nou, voor de start.
Yesterday we had all the bad luck you can imagine. On the pre-grid we lost the clutch, so I had one chance to roll away from the grid in first gear. I went for it, not thinking about getting a good result. Yesterday we were already praying for rain as our car is great in the rain. Today was a gift then. Starting from the back of the grid and winning the race, just amazing. I had such fun on the track, I only realised I was leading right near the end of the race. Next year there'll be 2 sport categories dividing the under 2 litre cars from the over 2 litre cars, like the turbocharged 235i and 135i Cup cars. Stay with us as we round out the season for the GT and Super Lights divisions here at the Formido final races at the TT Circuit of Assen. The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Magla, create your own digital magazine, and Valero, FIA approved race and rally base layers. Welcome back to the TT Circuit of Assen for round 8 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli at the Formido final races. In the Superlights and GT classes, both titles were decided at Spa. In Super GT, Costa Canaroglu and Oliver Campos Hull are the new champions. They start race 1 from 4th on the grid. Henry Zumbrink's Volvo, 13 points ahead of Henk Tace, leads the chase for second spot. Zumbrink starts from 3rd on the grid. Henk Tace from 2nd on the grid in the Pumax RT. The oldest driver in the field has lost none of his drive. In a GTB class, the champions in number 311 are Chris Matthews and Vard Slice, and they start from the class pole in their BMW M4 Silhouette. The Black Ligier LMP3 car of Nigel Melker starts on pole ahead of Frits van Aert's similar LMP3. Melker's already won 2 races with the Davitech engineering run Ligier. The Normas of Luc de Kock and Siggy Pfeiffer on row 2 of the grid, then the Radical of Rob Wilson and Leon Reinbeck's Wolf, the black car, on row 3 ahead of Henk Tace, with to his left Henry Zumbrink in 8th in the Volvo. As the lights change, away they go. Good start from the front row men. Slow getaway though from the red and white Norma of Luc de Kock. He drops back through the field. Henk Tace grabs 5th place, the red car on the inside, that is Rob Weldon's Radical. He goes inside Frits van Aert's yellow and white Ligier that started 2nd, so that's a change for 4th. Henk Tace all over the back of the Ligier, little lock up there from the yellow car. We're through on the inside, Rob Weldon alongside Siggy Pfeiffer in the blue Norma. In fact, he goes through before he gets onto the brakes for Strubben as Henk Tace takes 4th place. So Rob Weldon and Henk Tace with a bit between their teeth. Nigel Melker still leads. Oliver Campos Hull handed over the Mosler to Costa Canaroglu 4th in Super GT, but during his stint the Greek driver had to return to the pits and their race ends early. That would have been a nightmare if the title was still up for grabs.
On the last turn, the fast one on the left, and I just sort of the steering broke, so I went straight. So it was a bit nerve-wracking. And they can fix it for tomorrow, but I didn't have time to fix it for today. Such a short race, so it was a shame. But in a way, it was lucky that it happened there instead of somewhere else. So it was also good that it happened today and not a week ago. Exactly.
Henk Tace led Super GT after pit stops, heading for win number 4 of the season, which included 2 victories last time out here at Assen, don't forget, but his engine died. Steve Burgess and Rob Weldon took the lead to win the race. At least that's what they thought. After the podium, though, they had a penalty for passing under yellow, so in the end, Henk Tace does claim win number 4 of the season after all, with Henry Zumbrink finishing in 3rd spot. Ex-single-seater race Nigel Melker showed what he could do with a Ligier, 2 seconds a lap faster than anybody else in the class, winning for the 4th time this season, his 2nd victory at Assen. Close behind though, Norma's of Siggy Pfeiffer and Tim Joosten just a 10th apart, Pfeiffer claiming 2nd. 3rd enough though for Tim Joosten and Luc de Kock to win the championship in Group 1 the 2nd time Deldish Racing has won the class title.
Kampioen in allebei de kampioenschappen die we mee hebben
To be champion in both championships is just amazing, says Tim. We've had a great season. Special thanks to my teammate Luke, to the Deldish Racing team, Triple Eight, my sponsors, everyone who's helped us out this year. It's been incredible. Going to be hard to top this. Dominic Dierkes and Hauke Hostler won the race in Group 2. GTB race winner at Snetterton, Jos Janssen, out of luck here in Assen. The Porsche driver having to park up with clutch and drivetrain issues. Plenty of Porsches in GTB, but it's JR Motorsport's M4 Silhouettes that are leading the field. The black car, guest driver Bas Schouten ahead of the white car of Chris Matthews up to the pit stops. But a lost wheel cost Schouten and Michael Verhagen victory, which went instead for the 9th time this season to Vard Slice and Chris Matthews. And that win means they also are the overall champions of the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. A great effort by JR Motorsport, who also won the title in Supersport last year. The main event of the weekend, Sunday's 90-minute encounter, sunny but cold. During the Formido final races, plenty to keep the crowds entertained. Music and a grid walk meandering in amongst the GT and the Superlights cars with the grid girls and the drivers. Always the opportunity to have a photo either in one of the cars or with one of the stars, like Le Mans winner Jan Lammers. Somewhere in among the throng is our Superlights and overall pole sitter. It's the black Ligier LMP3 of Nigel Melker, comfortably quickest in race 1. The 90-minute encounter in race 2 though might be a little harder.
Ja, we hebben strafsecondes, dus daarom wordt het heel belangrijk om zeker in het begin...
We've gained another 15 result seconds, he said, so it's important not to lose the lead to Siggy Pfeiffer, who'll start on row 1. He's got more horsepower than us. He'll benefit from that at the start of the race. If I'm stuck behind, I'll lose a lot of time. And if that's the way it works out, then I'm going to have to work really hard to get the very best out of the car. Siggy Pfeiffer, despite having a V8 engine in his Norma, only finished race 1 a 10th of a second ahead of Tim Joosten with a normal 260 horsepower Honda engine in his Norma. He shares the car with Luc de Kock. They'll start from 3rd on the grid. Rob Weldon, again on pole in Super GT in his Red Radical. Chris Matthews, 12th pole of the season for the M4 Silhouette he shares with Vard Slice. He's the GTB pole sitter. GTB, a class that's going to get a lot more competitive next year as Super GT won't run. A lot of teams have already confirmed entries in the GTB category. This then will be the final race for Super GT. Nigel Melker pacing the field, Henk Tace lying in 6th position on the grid, with Steve Burgess alongside him in the Red Radical. There is the black Ligier, Siggy Pfeiffer alongside in the blue Norma, then Tim Joosten, the red and white Norma, Jan Lammers, the yellow and white Ligier, then the Red Radical and the Pumax of Henk Tace, the top 2 Super GT cars. Lights go out, we're racing for the final time this season. Good start from Henk Tace, trying to go around the outside of Jan Lammers for 3rd place. Siggy Pfeiffer takes the lead from the black car of Nigel Melker, and Henk Tace in 3rd. All contact with Jan Lammers. Spins around, and a little touch there as well from the red car of Steve Burgess. Henk Tace trying to get the Pumax RT fired up. Safety car is scrambled on lap 1. Oliver Campos hole behind. Watch the Ligier on the right. Looks like it skids off the curbs a little, clatters into the Pumax. 2 into 1 won't go. And from Henk Tace's viewpoint, looks like he's almost clear. Turns in. Wasn't quite enough room for both of them at the apex of the corner.
I didn't
know that Jan Lammers loved me so much. He kissed me on the backside. Bumped into me really hard. I think maybe he forgot it was a 90-minute race. I'm sure he was really keen to move up the order.
Dat is jammer voor Henk thuis, want hij is een goede vriend, goede rijder.
I'm really sorry for Henk. He's a good friend, a good driver. I respect him a lot. I couldn't slow down enough to avoid a collision. I was hoping he'd leave me a bit more room in turn 1, but I hit him hard. Luckily, I was able to carry on. Had a lot of vibration in the car, so I had to play with the brake balance. But once I found the right settings, had a fun race. Nigel Melker soon grabbed the lead in the Ligier, leaving Siggy Pfeiffer to deal with the similar Norma of Tim Josen. Fourth overall, Oliver Campos holds Mosler, leading Steve Burgess 1-2 in Super GT. Then Jan Lammers and Henry Zumbrink in the Volvo S60 V8, third in Super GT, and moving up into sixth place overall at the expense of Lammers and the Ligier LMP3 car. Close behind in the Black Wolf, Rob Campus, and he soon latched onto the tail of Jan Lammers as they battled for fourth in the Superlights class. Art Bosman started 7th in the GTB class but moved up to 3rd in turn 1 as the two M4 silhouettes had to take avoiding action from the spinning Henk Tace. Bosman was soon defending 3rd position from Senxi's car in his Porsche, and then the BMW of Michael Verhagen in 5th spot. As the Porsches of Jos Menton and Jos Janssen pull clear at the front of the field, two Porsches battle behind them. Sieska finished 3rd place in race 1, looking to do the same again, but finding it hard to get by Art Bosman. Pressure from Michael Verhagen's BMW adding difficulty to the task. It had to be a clean move, and eventually it was. Getting a long way around the outside of Art Bosman and tucking in neatly before the BMW had a chance to get involved in the battle, leaving Bosman to deal with Verhagen. Jos Menton building his GTB class advantage before handing over to co-driver Thijs Heesen at the pit stops. Then it was the turn of Michael Verhagen to grab 4th place from Art Bosman in Steckenval, with the recovering Henk Tace also looking to get past. Nigel Melker pulling away fast at the front of the Superlights division in the Ligier LMP3 car, leaving the battle for 2nd to Siggy Pfeiffer and Tim Josen. Pfeiffer in the pale blue Norma M20 FC, an identical chassis for Tim Josen in the red and white car. The main difference, BMW V8 power in the blue machine versus 2-litre Honda 4-cylinder engine in the red and white car. And because of the Supercar Challenge's power to weight ratio balance, more power means more weight, meaning it's harder to slow the blue car down and accelerate it, but it might have a top speed advantage. The cars were just 1/10 of a second apart after an hour of racing in race 1, and it seems as though the battle will continue to be just as close, neither man able to find the upper hand until disaster for both. Siggy Pfeiffer spins and Tim Josen can't avoid him. There is damage to the front of the newly crowned champion's car. He manages to get the Norma back to the pit lane, but can the Deldish team get them back out on track, or does the season end in disappointment? The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Magla, create your own digital magazine, and Valero, FIA approved race and rally base layers. Welcome back to the TT Circuit of Assen, the final race of the Supercar Challenge, powered by Pirelli for 2016. Great battle between Siggy Pfeiffer and Tim Josen ended with contact between the two of them on board with Josen. Pfeiffer spins, Josen can't avoid him, and there is damage to the Deldish racing car. They are trying to fix it to complete the race and get the new champions back out for the final encounter of the season.
Siggy Pfeiffer met de blauwe Norma is...
The Norma, the blue car just spun in front of me, says Tim. And the way the car was, where he ended up sideways on the track, I couldn't avoid him. His front splitter tore up part of our bodywork. There was nothing I could do. After also competing in the 24 Hours of Zolder, Deldish Racing know all about performing under pressure. They do manage to get the damaged car fixed and go back out to finish the final race of the season 12 laps down. A great result given how much damage there was to the car in the first place. And the irony is, Siggy Pfeiffer, who continued immediately after the accident, was eventually forced to retire with brake problems. No dramas though for our race leader, Nigel Melker, over a minute clear of any opposition in the LMP3 Ligier. The battle at the front of Super GT could hardly involve three more different cars. The Mosler MT900 of Oliver Campos Hull, the Radical of Steve Burgess, and the tube-frame Volvo of Henry Tumbrink. And it's Burgess who again shows the speed of the Radical RXC GT3, grabbing the lead from Oliver Campos Hull into turn 1 on lap 5. Burgess is pushing the Radical to the limit, finding traction difficult to come by at the front and the rear. Campos Hull latched right onto his tail once more as they battle for the lead. Jos Menton still leading in GTB and comfortably clear of the battle that rages for second between Jos Janssen and Cenk Seeskar. Michael Verhagen in the BMW right with them now in 4th position, having disposed of Art Bosman. Vard Slice and Chris Matthews' car in 6th place. Verhagen trying to get involved in the Porsche battle, and again it's the grey and white car that knows it must make a clean pass or risk losing a place. The BMW goes around the outside of Janssen for second, the BMW follows for third. In the other M4 silhouette, Chris Matthews is looking for 5th position. In his sights, Art Bosman in the Porsche. He disposes of him in Steckenwald with clinical precision, heading on to try and take win number 10 of the season. The black JR Motorsport car now challenging for 2nd position. Cenk Seeskar just in front. Don't forget, both JR cars held up badly by the Henk Jan Lammers incident on lap 1. Verhagen cuts through to the inside, takes 2nd position like taking candy from a baby, and now he will set off after GTB leader Jos Menton. The close battle at the head of Super GT continues. The Red Radical Steve Burgess ahead of Oliver Campos Hull and Henry Tumbrink in 3rd in the Volvo S60 V8. Tumbrink gets a good run out of the gate, Timmy chicane, and has a lunge down the inside, just falling short in his attempt to grab 2nd. But then there's near disaster. Tumbrink's engine stalls on the start-finish straight. He eventually manages to get it running once more and rejoins the race. Well, it could have been the end of a potentially good result for Tumbrink, but there's disaster for Steve Burgess. He has to park the Radical on the grass, out of the race.
Yeah, we got into a good group, sent some good times, and then unfortunately the gearbox went on the infield. So after that it was game over. Kaput.
Electronic problems drop Henk Tace by the wayside, as in race 1, and then the race leader in Super GT after the pit stops, Costa Canaroglu, comes in with the steering wheel askew. Don't forget they had steering failure in race 1. Is anybody going to finish in Super GT's final race? Just as well this didn't happen at Spa. The team hurry the car back to the garage, determined to try and finish the final race of the season.
Well, we're not quite sure yet. Something seems to have broken, but we're trying to see if we can fix that so we can do 75% of the race. We're I think just on 75 now, so they just want to make sure. So I think they're going to have a look and see what happens.
It's not a minor issue. Examination of the chassis shows that it has broken and it'll need welding. With Nigel Melker flying at the front of the field, they really do need more time on track to guarantee that they finish 75% of the leader's race distance. Henry Tumbrink, despite his bad luck, retakes the lead in the Super GT race. Paul Celius has the lead of Group 2 in the Superlights division in his Praga R1. He hangs on and manages to win the 90-minute Enduro, some reward after a season of misfortune. Nigel Melker grabs his 2nd win of the weekend, claiming Superlights Group 1 victory and overall ahead of Ligier LMP3 driver Jan Lammers and Leon Reinbeck with the Baskirten Racing Wolf GB08.
Ja, wat ik eigenlijk zei...
I said before the race I wanted to lead from the first lap, and that worked out well. I did get past at the start, but I was soon able to retake the lead just before the safety car came out, and from then on it was all about finishing the race. Henry Tumbrink could have challenged for the Super GT title, but for missing the 2 races at Snetterton after broken engines in the Volvo. He wins here in front of the Marcus Mantis, driven by Dutchman Koolreuser and his Aussie co-driver Trevor Knight. And in third, finally making it out after major repairs, are champions Costa Canaroglu and Oliver Campos Hull with E2P Racing. It's the final season for Super GT, which they won the title in, and they also finish the final race of the era. A race that was won by former champion and multiple Super GT race winner Henry Tumbrink in the Volvo S60 V8.
Ja, het was in het begin al heel snel klaar eigenlijk, want hij viel uit.
I thought it was over just a few laps in. The engine and the paddle shift died, with all the electronics still working properly. It was really strange. I still don't know what happened, but I reset the car twice and eventually everything started to work again. I was a bit down what happened, but the following lap everything seemed to be as good as new, so I was able to finish the race without any further problems. A final win for Henry Tumbrink and the Davitech Volvo S60 V8, but the final championship title in Super GT goes to Costa Canaroglu and Oliver Campos Hull. The lead battle in the GTB class after the pit stops, Thijs Heetsen being caught by Michael Verhagen in the M4 Silhouette. And Verhagen has the upper hand, grabbing the lead and claiming victory in race 2. And the Porsche further loses out, dropping to third behind Vard Slice and Chris Matthews, who make it a JR Motorsport 1-2.
Ja, ik kwam binnen met de pitstop, mijn communicatie.
I only knew what position I was in when I came in for my pit stop. Unfortunately, the radio wasn't working in the car, so they told me I was second or third. I thought I was leading, so then I really had to push hard, managed to take the lead and win the race. So in the end, I'm really happy. Series organiser Dick Van Elk presents the trophy to Chris Matthews and Vard Slice, our GTB champions. They finished second behind teammate Michael Verhagen in the final race, with Jos Mensen and Thijs Heetsen in third. Art Bosman and Jos Janssen finished second and third in the championship, behind champions Slice and Matthews. And that brings our action to a close from the TT circuit of Assen. So it's goodbye from the Formido final races and the last race weekend of the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. But keep your eyes peeled. We'll be back soon with the season highlights.
Dit programma wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door Pirelli, Formido Deco Bouwmarkten, Syntix, ASC Ladders en Steigers, Valero en Makkler. Maak zelf je digitale magazine.